Imagine waking up in the middle of the night. You're like completely exhausted.
I'm glad on your feet.
Exactly. So you roll over to check on your sleeping spouse, and instead of finding them there, you find a massive, heavy-breathing, 1,000-pound horse just taking up half the bed.
Which is an absolutely terrifying image.
Right. But in 13th century China, that wasn't considered a dream or, a hallucination. It was documented as a very real, very terrifying symptom of obsessive focus.
Yeah, a physical manifestation.
Exactly. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are exploring how profound, singular concentration might not just change your mindset, but, well, literally overwrite physical reality.
And to do this, we are looking at a translated text from 2006 by Diaform Buddha. It's titled, Learning the Transformation of Divine Powers, Advanced Cultivation 2.
Catchy title.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But it's a fascinating document because it takes these ancient Taoist folklore stories and philosophical tenets and frames them as practical mechanics of self-transformation. Highly advanced mechanics, obviously. Yeah. But the core premise we're analyzing today is this idea that all things, without exception, arise from consciousness.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because starting with the phrase, consciousness creates all physical matter, that sounds like we're diving straight into, pure magic.
It definitely sounds that way at first glance.
Right. But before we get to people turning into animals, there's a much more grounded way to look at this, Just think about how stepping into a new role actually changes your physical presence.
Oh, absolutely. Like taking on a new job.
Yeah. The moment you are put in charge of a crisis, your posture shifts. Your voice drops an octave, your heart rate stabilizes. It's like your mind adopts a state and your biology just follows the instructions.
That perfectly mirrors the author opening analogy, actually. He uses the example of an outstanding actor.
Oh, right.
Because, an actor doesn't possess the magical ability to alter their literal bone structure, but by completely inhabiting the psychology of a character, their micro-expressions change.
Their vocal cadence, too.
Exactly. Even the physical tension in their shoulders. All of it aligns perfectly with that new identity. They project a reality so intensely that the audience just forgets the person underneath.
Wow, yeah.
And the Taoist framework we are looking at today essentially argues that if you push that mechanism to its absolute limit, the physical universe has no choice but to accept the new script you're handing it.
And see, the leap from acting to literal transformation is where this material gets wild, because we get our first look at this in a historical account from the Lizzie, specifically the Yellow Emperor chapter.
Yeah, the story of the sorcerer.
Right. So we are introduced to this mystical sorcerer named Jixian, who has set up shop in the state of Zheng. And he isn't handing out, vague horoscopes.
Not at all.
He is predicting life, death, and misfortune down to the exact day. And he is doing it with such surgical accuracy that the locals are basically terrified of him.
Well, they're terrified because he's reading their terminal trajectory.
What do you mean by that?
So in a determinist worldview, if someone can look at you and tell you exactly how and when you will die, it means you have no free will. You are on a fixed track.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that would be terrifying.
Right. And this young philosophy student named Lizzie becomes totally infatuated with this guy. He runs to his own teacher, a master named Hukizi, and basically tells him that this fortune teller has tapped into the ultimate truth of the universe.
But Hukizi is entirely unimpressed.
Completely unimpressed.
He gives Lizzie this harsh reality check using a really vivid metaphor from the text. He asks, if there are only female animals and no males, how could they produce eggs?
It's such a brilliant critique. Hukizi is pointing out the flaw in how the fortune teller, and by extension Lizzie, views the world.
Because they're just looking at the surface.
Exactly. They're obsessed with looking at the manifestations, the eggs, the surface-level reality, without understanding the underlying energetic interaction that caused them in the first place. He's telling his student that reading someone's current physical state is just a parlor trick. It's identifying the symptom, not mastering the cause.
Right, so to prove his point, Hukizi tells Lizzie to invite this terrifyingly accurate sorcerer over for a reading.
Which is a bold move.
So bold. And this initiates this crazy 4-day challenge that is honestly a masterclass in psychological and physiological control.
Let's walk through the days.
So, day 1, the sorcerer arrives, takes one look at the master, and walks right out. He tells Lizzie, your teacher is a dead man. He won't last 10 days. His life force looks like wet ash.
And Lizzie is devastated by this.
Oh, he's crushed. The text says he's crying so hard his clothes are soaked, but Hookiezy is entirely unbothered.
Yeah, because he explains to his weeping student that he intentionally presented the aspect of the Earth.
It's kind of like putting a computer into deep hibernation mode. You shut down the hard drive, turn off the fan, cut the lights. It looks like a dead piece of plastic and metal.
Precisely. On an energetic level, Hookiezy dropped his metabolic and spiritual output to absolute zero.
Wow.
He achieved a state of utter stillness. There was literally no internal movement for the sorcerer to read, hence the wet ash diagnosis.
Okay, so then day 2, Lizzie brings the guy back. And this time, the sorcerer is amazed. He says, your teacher's so lucky he met me. The blocked life force is starting to stir. He's recovering.
And inside, Hookiezy explains he was demonstrating the junction of heaven and earth.
Mm.
He basically allowed a tiny flicker of vitality to awaken at his heels.
So let me stop you here and play skeptic for a second.
Sure, go for it.
Is Hookiezy just projecting a mental hologram to trick the fortune teller? Or is he actually biologically hovering on the brink of death on Monday and miraculously healing on Tuesday? Because one is an illusion and the other is like actual physiological manipulation.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's crucial to understand that the Taoist philosophy underpinning this text doesn't separate the two. To them, mind is matter.
So he wasn't faking it.
No, Hookiezy wasn't casting an optical illusion. He was shifting his actual state of existence so completely that his biological reality aligned with his mental state.
Oh, I see.
Think of it like a car engine. On day 1, the engine is completely off and cold. On day 2, it's idling. Just enough spark to keep the battery from dying, but not engaging the transmission.
Right.
The fortune teller is reading exactly what is physically there, but he lacks the awareness to realize Hookiezy is the one operating the ignition.
That makes a lot of sense. So if shutting down his life force didn't get rid of the guy, Hookiezy had to take it a step further. Day 3.
This is where it gets complicated.
Yeah. The sorcerer visits, stares at the master, and leaves completely baffled. He complains to Lizzie that his master's mind is a distracted mess and he can't get a read at all.
And Hookiezy later explains he showed the aspect of great emptiness with no discernible signs.
The description of this emptiness is where the text gets incredibly poetic, but it's describing a highly technical state, right?
It really is. Hookiezy describes his life force as chaotic yet balanced, and he uses this imagery of 9 abysses.
Like different types of water.
Yeah, he lists the abyss formed where a whale circles, where water accumulates, where it flows, gushes, falls, breaches, returns, enters a marsh, and where it converges.
It's a super intense list. But what does it actually mean practically to embody 9 different types of water?
Well, think about a television tuned to a dead channel. It's static, right?
Yeah.
But that static isn't an empty void. It's actually white noise. It's the visual and auditory representation of every single frequency broadcasting simultaneously.
Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that.
So, by showing great emptiness, Hookiezy was broadcasting pure, unmanifested potential. He became everything at once.
Which is why the fortune teller was so confused.
Exactly. It's so overwhelmingly complex that the sorcerer's deterministic brain essentially short-circuited trying to process it. He couldn't find a single narrative thread to pull on, so he just assumed Hookiezy was distracted.
Which sets up the climax on day 4. Lizzie brings the sorcerer over one last time. But before the guy can even plant his feet to start the reading, he panics, turns around, and literally sprints away in terror.
Just runs for his life.
Yeah. Lizzie tries to chase him, but loses him in the streets. When he gets back, Huchi explains that he didn't even change his original appearance. He just stayed entirely without attachment, flowing in real time. As he puts it, he followed the sorcerer like grass, shifting like water.
And this is exactly why the sorcerer ran. The fortune teller's entire power, his entire understanding of reality, relies on people being locked into rigid destinies. He needs a target.
Right, a fixed point.
Exactly. But what happens when you try to calculate the trajectory of someone who possesses 0 fixed attachments? Someone who adapts and shifts their very essence instantly in response to your presence.
It would be terrifying for him.
It's an existential terror. Encountering a human being who flows like water shatters a deterministic worldview completely.
Hookiezy's story is this beautiful example of intentional mastery. Like, he's the driver, perfectly steering the vehicle of his own consciousness to avoid being categorized. But the text doesn't let us stay in that comfortable, enlightened space. It pivots into something much, much darker.
It really does.
Because if the mind really is the supreme architect of physical reality, what happens when someone isn't driving? What happens when consciousness is hijacked by a primal obsession?
Well, see, the text treats consciousness as an entirely neutral mechanism. It is immensely powerful, but it does not care if your focus is aimed at spiritual liberation or manic fixation.
Like gravity, it doesn't care who it pulls down.
Exactly. The laws of physics don't care if you're building a bridge or knocking one down. Similarly, the mechanism of the mind shaping reality operates the exact same way, whether you're a Taoist master or an ordinary villager losing their grip on reality.
Which brings us to the story of Hao Er. He's an old medicine and divination practitioner in Ludai village, and he spends his life constantly serving everyone else, feeling totally overwhelmed and overworked.
And in his shop, he has this painting.
Right, a painting of a historical figure, Master Sun, standing next to a red tiger. As the years go by, Hao Er starts fixating on this tiger. He basically stares at it to cope with his stress.
The author meticulously documents the psychological escalation here. It begins as a simple coping mechanism. But soon, the neuroplasticity of his brain starts getting rewired by this obsession.
Yeah, he gets really dependent on it.
Very. If he goes a day without seeing the tiger, he falls into a deep depression. If his grandson brings back the wrong supplies from the city, Hauer erupts in violent anger, actually beating people with his cane.
Wow.
And the only way to calm this rage is to sit him in front of the tiger painting.
It's like his human identity starts eroding. When he visits sick patients, if they have a tiger painting on their wall, he ignores the patient entirely and just stares at the artwork.
His family doesn't know what to do, so they just enable him.
Yeah, they keep buying him more paintings until his house is basically a shrine to tigers. Finally, his brother asks him why he's doing this. Hauer admits he feels distressed, and only the tiger brings him relief.
Right.
So the brother, trying to be a good sibling, mentions that there is a live tiger currently being kept at a drugstore in the city.
And that information is the ultimate catalyst. It pushes the obsession from a psychological quirk into a physical manifestation.
Because he goes to see it.
He does. When Hauer finally sees the living, breathing beast, his consciousness completely locks onto it. He stays at the drugstore for over 10 days, staring at it continuously. He forgets to eat. He forgets to sleep.
And here is where we see the software start to overwrite the hardware. Hauer stops eating cooked food. His human palate just shuts down entirely.
It's so disturbing.
It is. Instead, he develops this ravenous craving for raw meat. The text specifically notes his intense pleasure in eating raw pig heads and raw pig legs.
Ugh.
Yeah, and if his terrified family tries to intervene while he's fixated on the tiger, he beats them back.
It's the ultimate tragic application of the Taoist principle we've been discussing. He is actively shedding human attachments, family bonds, social decorum, cooked food.
Like a reverse enlightenment.
Precisely. Unlike Yukizi, who shed attachments to become pure, adaptable potential, Hauer is shedding his humanity to adopt a hyperspecific primal blueprint. He is running the Tiger operating system on human hardware.
Wow, running the Tiger OS.
Yeah, and if you run that emulation long enough, it rewrites the system registry.
Which leads to the climax.
Yeah.
One night, Hauer walks out of his house into the dark and just disappears. Simultaneously, over in the city, a tiger leaps over the fortified walls. The guards hunt the tiger down, shoot it, and distribute the meat. Hauer is never seen again.
And the family's reaction is the craziest part.
Yes. The family so deeply believes their grandfather became that tiger that they track down the soldiers, recover the remaining tiger bones, and give them a proper burial.
Yeah.
Now, I have to use my catchphrase here. Here's where it gets really interesting because I need to push back.
Okay, let's hear it.
A guy staring at a painting until he turns into a literal tiger that gets shot by guards. Could we just be looking at a metaphorical story about a man suffering a severe psychological break, running off into the woods while coincidentally a tiger attacks the city?
I mean, that's the modern rational take.
Right, or maybe he contracted rabies. Is this a horror story, or how literal is the author intending us to take this?
Well, this raises an important question about how we read these texts. It is entirely intended to be taken literally within the framework of this philosophy. Modern readers immediately try to separate the psychological from the biological. We say, well, he just went crazy.
Right.
But the text insists that mind and matter are a singular continuum. If your consciousness becomes entirely consumed by the concept of a tiger, your physical form has absolutely no alternative but to conform to that overwhelming mental reality.
So the text is saying this really happens.
Yes. The story is presented as a factual, cautionary historical record of what happens when the mind's raw power is left completely unchecked.
It's unsettling because it suggests we are perpetually sculpting our reality, often without any conscious awareness of what we are creating.
Hmm.
And the final historical account in the text cements this idea that intense focus can cause spontaneous transformation even when your conscious guard is down.
Ah, the story of the painter.
Yes. It involves Zhao Ziang, a celebrated late Song and early Yuan dynasty painter.
Right, so Zhao Ziang was a master of landscapes, but he set out to paint a definitive collection of 100 horses. To achieve this, he didn't just casually sketch them.
No, he went all in.
He engaged in the exact same level of obsessive study as Hao Er did with the tiger, except channeled into art. Every waking moment was spent analyzing equine anatomy, muscle tension, how they breathed, how they rested.
He was internalizing the pure essence of the horse.
Exactly. He pulled it completely into his consciousness.
You know, have you ever played a video game like Tetris for so many hours straight that when you finally close your eyes to sleep, you still see the blocks falling in the darkness?
Oh, absolutely.
Psychologists call it the Tetris effect. Your brain gets so stuck in a pattern that it keeps generating it even when the stimulus is gone.
Right. But the Taoist interpretation takes the Tetris effect to its ultimate ontological conclusion. It's not just your visual cortex misfiring, it's your soul taking shape.
That is wild. So one night, Zhao Ziang is deeply asleep. His exhausted wife comes into their bedroom, lifts the bed curtain, and immediately faints in pure horror.
Because of what's on the bed.
Yes, because lying on the bed, occupying the space where her husband should be, is a massive resting horse.
And the sound of her fainting wakes Zhao Ziang up. He leaps out of bed to check on her. When she regains consciousness, she's hysterical, screaming about the beast on their bed. He looks at the empty mattress, completely confused because he was just sleeping there. There is no horse.
But then the realization hits him. The text explains that because all phenomena are created by the mind, his relentless daily obsession with horses had accumulated such immense energetic gravity that his soul literally transformed into one while his rational mind was asleep. His wife saw the physical manifestation of his intense focus.
It synthesizes everything the text is trying to convey.
How so?
Well, whether it's the actor adopting a micro-expression, Hu Kezi manipulating his life force to crash a fortune-teller's brain, Hao Er being devoured by the primal energy of a tiger, or Zhao Ziang manifesting as a horse in his sleep.
Yeah.
The underlying engine is identical.
Right.
Reality is a highly malleable substance, and your focused consciousness is what gives it shape.
Which brings this entirely back to you, the listener. It really makes you pause and evaluate the quality of your own attention, doesn't it?
It really does.
If this ancient philosophy holds true, if extreme, unyielding focus can turn an old medicine man into a predator or painter into a beast of burden, what are your daily habits doing to you?
That's a scary thought.
It is. The algorithms you scroll through, the political arguments you fixate on, the anxieties you replay on an endless loop in your head. What are they slowly, quietly transforming you into?
It frames human attention as a profound responsibility. At the end of the text, deiform Buddha references Sun Wukong.
The Monkey King, right?
Yes, the legendary Monkey King from Chinese mythology, who famously mastered 72 earthly transformations. But the author's parting wish isn't for the reader to just achieve 72 forms.
What does he want?
The ultimate hope is that by realizing your mind creates your phenomena, you can surpass Sun Wukong and possess the ability to transform in countless infinite ways.
You are not locked into a fixed destiny unless you choose to be.
Exactly.
So, we leave you with a final thought to mull over today. If your consciousness really is a blank canvas and it is entirely capable of infinite physical and energetic transformations based purely on where you direct your focus, are you currently the artist holding the brush, deciding exactly what you will become?
Or are you the canvas?
Right. Or, without even realizing it, are you just the painting, being shaped by whatever happens to capture your attention? Take care of your focus. We'll see you on the next deep dive.